We are live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of Hope for the Holidays. I'm Angela Bird Reed, and I am so elated to share with you my company on the other side of the screen, brother, as I know him, Mr. Tony Rouse. Welcome, Tony.
Thank you. Read all about it.
That's it. And you're going to have to drop the little gem about how that came to be, thanks to you, sir, as we get into this conversation.
So be it.
I love it. I see that we've got some people that are slowly logging in. I've got a couple screens going on. So some of my friends over here on Instagram, I'm trying to get over there. I see that screen coming.
What up, peeps?
All right. This is going to be great. I'm so excited.
If I need to, go ahead, keep going. I'm like, if I need to, I say if I share it out too. Go ahead.
Perfect. Please do. That'd be great. That'd be awesome. Well, I am so excited, Tony, that you, number one, were able to have time for little old me to interview you today.
Whatever.
Because you are, when you talk about someone that is just always on the go and has been and just consistently moving and making moves without just making noise. That'll preach.
That'll preach.
That'll preach right there. Let's pause it there. But I do want to run a bit of your bio, and this isn't even all encompassing, y'all. Tony's bio could probably go at least 5 to 10 pages, I'm sure. And I may be cutting it short at that. But let's introduce you to everyone as people continue to come in and join us tonight. Tony Rouse is the intersection of lifestyle, culture, business, and entertainment. A brand strategy specialist known as the Curator of High-End Experiences, whose revolutionary concepts and projects have achieved international exposure and acclaim. He's a friend to all and a stranger to absolutely none. And I can say that firsthand because I met Tony on the campus of Georgia Southern University. Shouts out to Eagle Nation. And when I first saw him, I saw him before I met him. And I heard his voice. I saw that smile and I said, that guy is awesome. Who is that? And then I got to meet you and your personality. Is exactly what the last line of your bio said. You're a friend to all. You never meet a stranger. So let's pull back to where that started. Give us early Tony all the way up to now. Give us a little bit of how that started.
Well, surprisingly, first thing I'll say, I was shy in like school and stuff like that. I didn't talk much. Of course, I talked to, at the house and stuff like that. But yeah, I didn't talk much in school because I didn't know how to kind of, really, I don't know. I think I always had big dreams. I've always it's funny. I remember I even had a job in college and somebody was like, Tony, I was like, I'm going to be famous. I'm going to be famous. But it was so crazy that I always knew what was in me. It wasn't ever about fame for me. It was like having opportunity to be able to go further and just do literally whatever I wanted, from that aspect. Not necessarily saying it in the wrong way, but just be able to have options and opportunities to just kind of realize that there's no restrictions, that when people talk about the sky's the limit, literally that we go beyond that. And, to one of my mentors and pastor friends that always said, is go to another stratosphere. Shouts out to MCG. Mm-hmm. But, go to another stratosphere. So me as an individual, kind of like I guess the evolution of Tony Rouse, if you will, is somebody who finally had an understanding of identity. And then realizing, I think the one thing I tell people even now is that I always had faith, but I didn't understand the work that was required, that's necessary to make, it's let's talk about it. We in a conversation, we can talk about the law just a little bit. We talk about, faith without works is dead. And I think the one thing I always understood, I understood how to have faith. I'm like, I believe. But you got to have the work that is necessary to have your faith, because you realize your faith is your belief in what you need to get done. But the work is necessary to kind of make sure that you put in that faith into action. It's almost like you think about it. Your faith. If let's take a car, right? Let's realize that our destination is Thanksgiving, holiday time. Some of y'all are traveling, be safe, but some of y'all are traveling. We think about it that the destination is a part of the journey in and of itself. Yes. The opportunity that I have, the work, is gasoline. I got to put gas in this engine in this car. Now, this car can take me somewhere, the vehicle being yourself. You can go anywhere you want to go. But if you don't have the gasoline necessary to be able to fuel your journey, you ain't going to get nowhere past the gas station itself. And so I say that to say, you know, for me and kind of understanding, you know, even what I see now and what I do is knowing that, yeah, it's going to take faith. That's going to be the first thing. I'm like, look, like, God, what we really doing? So I believe, but at the same time, if you don't do the work, you cannot have an expectation. It's almost like, what do I look like expecting a harvest if I ain't never planted no seeds? And that faith is a seed. You got it all kind of works together. And what I'm understanding now and just kind of and just moving along and even business and all this other kind of stuff, it's just like, you know, what's the destination, but also too, really, what's the desire? Like what it's like, and not even just what do I want, but like, God, what do you want for me to want? Like, you know, it's almost like, how can I exchange what I thought I wanted for what you really have set up for me? Because we look at it from a grand scheme of saying, you know, my ways are not your way. You know, he straight up tells us like, my ways are not your ways, my thoughts are not your thoughts. But he never said that we couldn't get his ways. We never said that we couldn't get his thoughts. And I think that's the thing, because we look at, you know, I know you actually quote this on your page a lot, Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans that I have for you. And it's almost like if God knows the plans, how about I go to God and be like, yo, fam, what the plan is? What the plan? Like, I mean, you know, like we talk like that. And I think that's the thing too. It's about at this point, and I understand it's relationship. Like I actually got enough sense to be like, you know, a lot of times if I'm the person that was created, it would make common sense to go talk to the creator to find out about what he created. Like I realize I can smile, I can talk, you know, all these other things, but like, all right, what's that for? What am I doing with that process? What is the fingerprints that I have in my hand, the fingerprints that God gave me that nobody else has, right? And that's each and every person that's listening to this. Your fingerprint is unique to you. There is something that you have. Maybe you can read a book faster than anybody else in the world. So be it. Maybe that's something that actually, you know, provides for you. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. All of us are gifted in whatever way possible. And I think that's the thing. We just have to get to a place to where we tap into those gifts, and kind of how this goes back to, you know, the evolution, my development, all those other kind of things. I had to actually, it would seem like I was always doing something, but I actually had to spend some time working on from an understanding of identity of like, okay, I can do this, but what do I do with this? If that makes sense. And yes, so it's kind of like what I see now is like, oh, okay. And I'll tell you this, and this is probably the biggest thing. Nothing is ever wasted. And I say that to anybody that's listening to this, nothing is ever wasted. Everything that you done been through, everything that you done been in, everything that you done come out of, it is never wasted. Like, I'm sure we're going to talk a little bit about some of the other stuff that I do, but I will tell you, it's some things, I'm break this down. Some things you go through, you are not going to understand in the moment, but I promise you will look back and it will all make sense. It will just be like, you may not see it in the middle of it, but the thing is, it's almost like that's the process of being able to trust in it. And look, last thing, and I'm gonna finish it up like this, but it's so interesting to me because a lot of people talk about Psalms 23, right? Everybody, a lot of people just know Psalms 23, but I love this one part. It says, "Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death." Meaning that I may go through something that may look like death, but ain't really death. But even in this process, as I go through, I'm walking through, meaning I'm not stopping in this place where it's dead, but I will walk. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. No matter what I got to go through, I'm not going to fear. Why? Because thou art with me. So when you get an understanding that anything that you go to do, that God is right there with you, holding your hand, holding you along, carrying you if necessary, you will realize you will never fail. You will realize that as long as you don't quit, you got this. Yeah.
Tony, you gave us a whole bunch. I'm like, we're still stuck back at destination and desire.
Oh, yeah. Destination, desire. Well, yeah.
I give us a little more sides to that.
Absolutely.
Video, but I want to, because I think everyone either watching or listening to this, they can see your faith is strong. The faith is strong with you. Where did that come from?
Realizing that I'm gonna be honest, like I was borderline, like at one point, like, look, and this is a real conversation I have with God. I'm like, if you ain't real, let me know now, because we don't need to waste each other's time. Because things wasn't working. It wasn't like it just wasn't working. Because here's going back to that point of I believe. But you ain't doing the work, fam. You ain't doing the work. You got to do the work. Like that's the one thing about it. And it's funny. I had this conversation with an entrepreneur actually earlier this week. Do the work. You got to think about it. This pandemic was not a surprise to God. That's the word, and I'm gonna tell you this. There's another thing. The word I got, honestly, I think in the last 2 days ago, something like that. But the word I got is pivot, and that is so important right now because we've kind of done it, but we ain't really done it. Because you got to think, what is a pivot? It's not a change of direction. It's just a change of trajectory. Meaning that I still have the same target. I just might have to attack it in a different way. But you got to look at it. It's almost like with a pivot. If I make a slight turn, you may be turning the corner to your entire destiny, because if you continue to think the way that you thought previously, thinking that what we did then is going to work now, no, because what got you here will not take you there, because it's almost like you were able to get to one level. But the thing that just popped in my head is like when you go to a mall, for those that remember when we went to a mall a long time ago.
Yes.
You realize typically when they build those escalators, your escalator will take you up to one level, but then normally you have to walk around to the other side to go up to another level. Or you have to walk a little further to go up, like to be able to switch levels to go to another space. You have to move from where you were to be able to go to another level. So the thing about that is like we got to be in a process of understanding how this thing really works. It's like it takes both. It takes both of these things of saying, yes, I believe and I can do this. Yes, I'm an entrepreneur. Yes, I believe that I'm supposed to create this stuff. But you got to do the work. Because if it stops with your belief, you're going to still be in the same spot in the next year doing the same thing, and you ain't never going to have nothing else done.
That's it.
And the thing is, what happens is, and this is a problem, you end up lying to yourself. You lying to yourself because you start accepting these excuses that you are giving yourself, like these are the realities of what you got to deal with, and you don't. But because you made it okay, because you said, hey, I am okay with being, okay with where I'm at, or not even saying this is bad for where you're at, but it's like you're giving yourself an excuse to not win. And it's like, you don't have to do that. You can be great, and you are great. You just have to walk in it. It's almost like just walk it out. So,
that's it. That's it.
Oh, but also too, you mentioned desire. Desire, I think, is necessary because it's almost like you have to have something that you're driving towards or driving for, that makes it, relevant, worthwhile, and all that kind of stuff. But it's this book I was reading, old school book. We're talking about like what 1920s, 1930s, and I actually started recently. I started picking up a lot of the older books. But this is Napoleon Hill is Think and Grow Rich, which I'm sure most people have either read it or heard it. But I like it a lot. I like a little bit of it because some of it actually talks about I'm gonna tell you like this. So anything that I read, I have to put it through like a Bible filter, because at the same time, it's easy to kind of be like, oh, this is great. But you end up so far left and you like, well, what just happened?
Right.
But a part of it says, desire backed by faith knows no such thing as impossibility, which I love that aspect, because when you desire something, you're going after, what you want, and then you got the faith to believe to go get it. You doing the work to be able to have it. It's only a matter of time, because you think about it, for as long as the earth shall remain, there will always be seed, number one, time, then harvest. So whatever that you're doing, you're going to have some moments where that seed has to be planted. That might be where you figuring stuff out it's almost like when people used to have to develop photos, you develop them in a dark room where nobody can see it. Because at some point that picture has to come out. It'll be shown to the light, but you might have to have some time in the dark room to get developed. A lot of times you may not be seen right now. Well, but real talk, a lot of times you may not be seen right now because you could be in development.
That's it.
But you can't shake off your development, because here's the thing. If you don't go through your proper development, you will come out and you will be overexposed. And when you are overexposed, you ain't no good to be able to capture what people trying to see from you, because you ain't spent no time in the dark. A lot of times in that process, you got to be in a space to where it's okay to be in the dark. Now, here's the great thing about it. Light shines brightest in the deepest darkness. So even when you in the dark, you still a light that's shining. So when it's time for you to come out, you're going to be all right. But I just say that to say, it's necessary. That development piece is necessary. And that's come on, Devani. Hey, I didn't even know people could like add stuff or whatever. Appreciate that. But you got, it's some things you got to go through, and that's a part of the process. You got to go through it, because you think about it, and I love this. I think my pastor actually teaching this today, but it's like you think you're prepared for something and you're really not. And so it's almost like God loves you enough to put you through stuff to make sure that when he has it for you, you are really ready for it. Because you think about it, what good parent, what good parent gives a 5-year-old a Mercedes to drive? I mean, you might get a little toy, a little play car, a little Hot Wheels, something. Not a Hot Wheels, but what is the little big wheels, whatever they call it?
Yes.
Yeah, but you ain't giving them the keys by themselves in a car. I mean, even to drive a tractor in the country, you're gonna be about 9, maybe 10. Depends. We all look country around here. We're from Georgia. Shouts out to everybody that's checking in from Georgia. But
That's right.
yeah, but I mean, that's a part of the process. You know, it's okay to go through stuff. And I think that's the thing when you talk about, you know, strong faith, it only came from an aspect of realizing I was losing and not winning. And I'm like, God, like either you real or you not. And it was one of those moments of like, how do I make this thing work? Like, I believe who you are, but I ain't seeing it. Like, I know you said you'll take care of me, but I'm like, fam, I'm struggling. Like, I'm really struggling. I ain't got nothing. I got nothing on top of nothing. Like, you know, that's the thing about it. Most people will never know. I'm talking about I was broken and broke and like, I think this is real talk. I think my credit score, the only reason I can talk about it now because I got like over 800. Yeah. But now my credit score, come on, on the other side. Look, sometimes, but that's the thing. I'm going to tell you about this. So I think at one point my credit score might have been like a 396. But the reason why I can talk about this on the other side, see, a lot of times when you're going through stuff, you don't need to tell everybody everything only because you may not be talking to the right people that can help you get over to the other side. See, a lot of times when you start exposing your problems to people who can't help you, you are actually going to end up taking yourself down because they can't preach no hope to you. Because you got to understand, you got to make sure that if you got issues and situations, go talk to somebody who can give you some hope or possibly some help. Now, the reality is but you got to be mindful. Don't be just reaching out to everybody. Because everybody that's with you is not for you. I know that's a harsh conversation to hear. That is, hey, shouts out to Canada. I was in Toronto. I don't know if you're from Toronto, but I was in Toronto earlier at the top of the year. That's where I spent New Year's this year, as a matter of fact. Or 2019 going 2020. But anyway, shouts out to Canada. Yeah, they're super nice in Canada and super clean. Toronto's like clean. Yeah, it's in Niagara Falls, because you can take. So, side note, you can take, you can fly into Toronto, and then they have they got a train, like a regular train, but it's like super dope, like an Amtrak, I guess, for them. Yeah. But it's like a bullet train going from Toronto to Niagara Falls, and it was just amazing. And then you got to try poutine. Now look, they make it sound fancy in French, but poutine ain't number with fries and gravy. That's all. With a little bit of cheese on top. Say it again. I mean, really, that's what. Look, you didn't have. It's funny. People are like, oh, well, we got some fries and gravy. That's it. But it's cool. I mean, you know, just especially it's fries and gravy. But yeah, so I think my faith from that perspective is strong now. Everybody that's with real talk. That's real talk. And you have to, but that's the thing of the gift of discernment. You have to figure out like who really with you, and that's okay. Yeah. It's like, because let's be honest, you may have a vision to go somewhere, and everybody that's with you, they may not want to go, and that's okay. Mm-hmm. Like sometimes, I think in a part of entrepreneurship and part of just living life, you just got to be like, yo, I'm okay by myself. Like I'm okay by myself. I'm praise God if you here, but if you ain't, look, me and Jesus, fam, I'm good. Like I sometimes that's kind of harsh sometimes, but I don't say that to like shun people or whatever, but I'm like, you got to understand, like I'm a rock regardless. And because of that, that is just a part of the process, you know, and again, sometimes you just got to adjust the circle. You got to adjust the people. You got to limit access only because too, especially from a leadership perspective, if you're getting a download, like if you getting information, you got to. Sometimes you got to separate yourself. Come on, joy, discernment, spiritual gift. Yo, real talk, fam.
Yes, it is
discernment. I'm like, yo, you got to know what's what, and let it come quick. Because it's almost like I think I forgot who told me this, or I forgot it was a buddy of mine, but it was my buddy Ace, I think, as a matter of fact. But he was like, he prayed that God open every door that should be open, but shut every door that should stay closed. And it was just so simple. Right. But it's like, and sometimes you have some relationships, some situations and stuff that'll just immediately change just because you're like, well, dang, what happened to that person? But then you got to realize, oh, well, I did kind of pray for that. You know, I did kind of adjust for that. So
that's good.
That's a part of it too. But yeah, I mean, I think the thing is too, from a strong faith perspective, it's just I done been through process. I done been through too much. It's almost like I done been through too much to turn back now. It's like what I understand now is those conversations I had with my grandfather and my grandmother. Like, the ones when they be sitting in the back of the church, like I done come too far to turn around. I get it. Like a lot of stuff as a kid, you don't catch it. But when you get adult, you start to understand. And you be like, that's why you understand also how to mind your business at your own house. It's like, well, God bless y'all, but nah, family, it ain't got nothing to do with me. I'm good. We good over here. Hey, real talk. Hey, fam, I know how to shoot deuce. Hey,
That's it.
hey.
This is a good point, Tony, because I love when you talked about people speaking hope into you. You said it a few paragraphs back, but I caught it and I held on to it.
In the midst of the dissertation.
in the midst of the message. But that's so real. And can you share with us, because you've been in various environments, talk about coming from home to college, then to the professional setting, and you even the international setting, giving us that example at Canada, but you've been all over the world. Talk about the influence of your circle and people around you, and how if you're not paying attention, you're going to be stagnant. Or if you are paying attention, those same voices can help propel you.
Absolutely. So one of the friends I recently met last year, as a matter of fact, her name is Lola Tomorrow. So shouts out to Lola Tomorrow. If you guys don't know, Lola's dope. You'll probably catch her on Facebook and some other stuff. She's got some big stuff coming. I'm not gonna steal her thunder, but she coming with it. She used to be an aide for Michelle Obama. She was an aide for First Lady Michelle Obama. And so we met actually when I was serving, when I was working at the record label when I was working for Arrow Records as a record label. But anyway, we connected. She runs a nonprofit out of Chicago, and so some other stuff, but that's actually the connection that I got when we did Tabitha Brown. So it's a funny story. She hit me up. I think she messaged me or something like that in April. And it was like, we're talking about 6 months ago. And she was like, hey, this is da-da-da-da. This is Tabitha. Check this out. You need to send, candles and some other stuff. I'm like, all right, cool. And so I went ahead, we put a package together, sent it, no big deal. We just kind of just doing our thing. And Tabitha at this point, which is funny, Tabitha was only at like 450,000 followers and stuff. So wasn't a big deal, but I'm that person right here. And this is what I firmly believe. You know how the people talk to me memes that I was always raised, people say I was raised to treat the janitor with the same respect I have for the CEO. Yep. Like for me, it's always, look, if you're going to give a gift, give the best gift just because it's a gift. Because I want people to just bless their socks up. Well, look out for people, that type of deal. So we sent the care package over. Didn't hear anything. It was just kind of like, hey, y'all got, heads up, we got some stuff coming, but wasn't a big deal. Fast forward to October, right on holiday season. She drops Very Good Mondays. They gave us a shout out, and when I tell you, we hadn't had orders stop since, and it's just like, well, dear God. But all of that whole thing was based off of relationship and the circle of people that I was around. Being on House Hunters, that was with my cousin. Shouts out to Dr. Azuri Collier. She is a PhD in neuroscience. You got shout out to fam. But that was her connection of actually, we were when she was house hunting, and she hey, like, I need a tour partner. Can you do it? I'm like, yeah, HGTV.
Right.
So I work because one of the things I do, I work for an appliance company. So, this is home for me. I'm like, yo, I can do this.
I can make it work.
Exactly. Look, and then it's so funny. And even in that circle, that whole message went around to everybody like, yo, we got to do, he works with us, but he's on HGTV. So that was a cool thing there. But that was, based off of relationship. Being on this show with Angela with Angela Reed, based off relationship. And so I think that, you have to know, not even just, I'm going to tell you, this is one of the things I thought about earlier today. Because, I'm just not with the people that's like, you scamming to kind of get ahead and meet to like, oh, you rock with people because you trying to find out and get to what they got, as opposed to just being like, just rocking with them because I'm that person to where, I support people. Now, we don't even talk every day, but I will support you, shout you out. Because one of the people I think about was actually, Joy popped up, but Joy Farrell and the Farrell firm, I think it's Farrell something and Associates now. What is it?
Farrell and Roy.
Farrell Roy, thank you. And I messed up your last name. My bad, Raph. Farrell Roy. But Farrell Roy and Associates, they got billboards all over Atlanta. And I'm like, that is the coolest thing ever to me. Like, even, I just think it's so dope to shout people out. Like, and even seeing Jennifer's popping up on the thing, working for Delta Airlines and, like, having some great things happen over there, 40 under 40. Like, all of these things that happen to all these people. And I think it's great to always maintain, there's enough room for everybody. And I say that, even as it relates to the circle, like, the problem with a lot of people is that they get a mindset of scarcity, that they think that it's going to run out. But when you have an understanding that you can have faith in running over, you will realize that what is for you can never be taken away because it's yours.
That's it. That's it, Tony. I think that is a big part of when people say they lose hope or they lost hope in what their motivation was, what their goal was, what they had purposed themselves, after. it's not that they lost it. It's just they let someone else have it because their eyes strayed away from that. But I think the more we put into our mindset, the more we speak over ourselves, what God has for me will be for me. But it goes back to what you said about having that faith and the work. Because if you're just sitting idle on the highway, everybody can pass you by, whether they're in a Honda or whether they're in a Porsche. No matter the vehicle, if you're just sitting on the highway in yours, they're going to pass you by.
Real quick, shouts out, and I'm listening because the point you just made. Shouts for anybody in here. You heard her say Porsha. That is exactly the proper pronunciation, and I learned that from Angela Reed because she was a spokesmodel for Porsha. Yeah, so she was a person that taught me that it's Porsha. Just in case y'all look, if y'all go have Thanksgiving dinner with your family, I want y'all to be. It ain't Porsche, it's Porsha. There we go. But yeah, she's making a great point, by the way, too. I just wanted to interject to make sure y'all understand. That's she's saying it like it's supposed to be said.
That's it. But it is such a real analogy that connected back to what you said earlier, putting in that work. So let's say now, and I really want to get your words in this because you have made waves. You talked about your product earlier. You can't keep it in a season where people just saw lack. They heard about this COVID at the beginning of the year. We saw it in another part of the world. It came to our part of the world, and then it shut things down for a moment. But you, in a season where people just saw lack, they saw pause, they saw stop, you and your company have really taken off, and you have set yourself up in a wonderful position for 2021. As an entrepreneur, what has that roller coaster been like for this year for you? What were your thoughts, and what are they now?
I'll tell you, my first thought is thankful of everything. My first thought as it relates to COVID was like, Lord, what we about to do? But what the thing I heard, like even in that moment, was, no evil shall befall you. And I'm like, okay, cool. Now I'm a person where if I get, this is just me, when I hear something from God, first place I go is Google. Why do I go to Google? Because I'm like, I gotta make sure, like, all right, fam, is that him, and that's me talking? Like, let me find out, and this is just being honest. This is just a safe space from a scripture perspective. I'm like, well, where that's at? I'm like, because it's easy to people like, well, the voices were telling me to go do it. Well, what voices were you listening to? Right. So, but at this point, you recognize, discernment, Holy Spirit, you understand what it is. But at the same time, it's like, all right, no evil shall befall you. I'm like, but I know, I was familiar, but where did that come from? And that was Psalms 91. It's like, part of it was no sickness, no evil shall befall you. Those 1,000 may fall at your side, 10,000 at your right hand, it shall not come near you. And so that's what I had to stand on in the midst of all of this, because I'm like, yo, fam, really, what are we gonna do? Are we safe? Am I okay? All you think about it, you start going down the line of like, yo, this is crazy, because it's one of those, as you mentioned, stuff would always happen around the world, but in the U.S. we like, man, whatever, United States of America. But it's a different conversation now, when you have something that literally stops the world. And so that's why I would say the first part of it was a pause to really kind of assess what was really happening. And then like most recently, and kind of in the last, like I said, 2 days, 3 days ago, whatever. And I was kind of already, in this from this aspect, but the word was pivot. It went from pause to pivot, because now, and a lot of people were pivoting, of course, in the beginning, because you had to figure it out. Because, a lot of times, when major things like this happen, when everybody else got on pause, that's the perfect time to be on play. And I say that because it was almost like a leveling ground, because everybody had to stop. But the question is, as a business owner, and from that aspect, what are you going to do when you got kids? What are you going to do when you got, rent? What are you going to do? You got to figure it out, and you got to get to work. But what's interesting, the word entrepreneur is a French word that literally means to create. And all of us have been gifted with an ability to create. And so the only thing we have to do, and I've heard some great stories. Some people, they got laid off from work, but they were able to finally start that bakery that they always wanted. So now, they're making cheesecakes and cookies and stuff out their house, and then they're delivering it, and they're figuring it out. I think the thing is, again, that desire is like, you got to determine what is necessary for you to make it, and then use what you have. Like, you have something. Whether it be money that you have that you can invest in something else, whether it be the talent that you have that you can do something, but you got to get around some things. And I'm going to tell you too, and we go back to that thing about, being in the right circles. Sometimes you got to disconnect from the wrong people, because they will keep you in a messed up situation, because they're not doing anything to actually not only help them propel, but even you being able to go somewhere. but yeah, so we went from pause to kind of, to pivot, but at the same time we were on play. It's just like we didn't stop. And I'm glad, I'm thankful for that. Like, use what you have. Absolutely, Sean. Like, yeah, you got, because here's the thing, you've been equipped. That's the reality. Everything that you need, you already have. You already have it. Whether it's the wisdom that's, say it again.
Say it again.
Everything that you need, you already have. Whether it be the wisdom to do something, whether it be the ability to do this, but you have it. Everything that you have need of. No good and perfect gift will God keep from you, but everything you need, you already have. And so I think that's the thing too. A lot of times we just got to find it. We just got to figure that out. It's like again, take a moment. If you can get some time to yourself, figure that out. If you got a journal, a lot of people have different methods and processes of how to get stuff done. And that's totally fine. But you just got to listen for it. Like, you got, your answer is in you. Like, that's your answer. Your answer is in you. It's in you. Like, I'm going to tell you, we sell candles and do all this other kind of stuff. But, originally the candles were not the business. I wanted to own a hotel. Like, that was the game plan. I wanted to own a hotel, but I'm like, I ain't got $50 million because I wanted a nice one. I'm like, but what do I do? Candle. What? Like, fam, like, really, God? Candle. And so we actually, we launched our first one back in 2016. We sold them all. I'm like, okay, cool. It was something cool. But we went back, talking about a pivot. We went back to go make them, we were making some more rounds or more sets of them. And the fragrance, so a candle, how it works is it's called a throw. So you have a cold throw with a candle that's not lit, and you have a hot throw, and that's what you smell typically after you light it. So you want a hot throw on a candle, so that's why people burn them, so they can smell it around their house. Right. Well, our candle wasn't throwing. The remakes, they weren't throwing. So then it's like, all right, fam, this is a flop of a product now. So then I had to get to work. I had to start figuring out, all right, what are we going to do? And so I said, you know what? I'm going to reformulate everything. And so your candle smells so good. Appreciate that, Jennifer. Look, we did not pay her for this endorsement and advertisement. This message has been brought to you. But, so like they weren't throwing right and some other stuff. So I had to reformulate everything. And so then I was like, well, let's make a thing. I was going to make it, let's call it a success series. So then we had success. And then next thing I know, I'm like, okay, that's cool, but we went to boss status. So anyway, we were reconditioning, refiguring, but it was so interesting. And I'll tell you this is why you always, again, have to stay in that space, in that place of understanding. And if you just going in the right direction. So when we got our names, I had everything set up. We had Kingpin, we had Mogul, Titan, Savage, and Power, and the other one was God. God was our other one. And it was funny. Like, I have my circle of people, so I got a little bit of everything. So I got the neuroscience, the doctor of neuroscience on one side. I got my buddy, my buddy Mitch and Nicole, who I'm their son's godfather. But between these circles of groups of people, they all have different backgrounds and everybody comes from different places and stuff. But and this is all of them. My sister, my sister is she got an MBA from Rutgers and she lives over in Singapore. But I had a candle called God, and I was like, I went through and I was like, I got all my stuff, letting everybody, kind of in our small setup. Oh, here's the lineup for the lines. They were like, okay. Everybody, when I tell you everybody, I don't know about that God. You made a candle called God. And I'm in my mind thinking, yeah, I liked it because I was like, man, this kind of represents reverence to me. I want to do something. And I'm going to tell you, that's another thing about me. Like, real talk, like, I get tired of, like, people that be doing church stuff and they be looking bootleg. Like, I get so tired. In the church. Come on, fam. Like, real talk. Like, people be looking stuff and they be looking all janky. And it's almost like we try to give a pass because we got God on. It's like, hey, but it look horrible and trash. And it's like, nah. It's like, if God is who he said he is, then I need to have an expectation that it should look at a certain level. That's just me. Now, that's just me. I'm not saying, look, now, if you got, better, whatever your business is, that's fine. Do what y'all do. Do what you do. But I'm just telling you, me personally, myself personally, I like stuff to, have a level. And I kind of come from that, that land of luxury. And, my way into fragrance was working at Neiman Marcus. So that gives you any kind of indication.
But you used what you had, you made a plan, and you just went from greater to greater.
Had to. Improvement. Side note, nothing. Remember I said earlier, nothing was ever wasted. So I just recap really quick, and I'm gonna bring it all together. I promise you. I'm gonna show you in a minute. But when I first got into fragrance, I was actually doing a branding project for Neiman Marcus, and it was a company called Lolita Lampica, which is a French parfum house. But I was around, Tom Ford, Creed, Clive Christian, Cartier. Like, I'm sitting here amongst all these people, and I was like, I could do this. But now, granted, I had to spend some time understanding what was happening. I didn't, again, this was 7 or 8 years ago. I didn't know what was going on, but at the same time, nothing is ever wasted. I'm sitting here like I'm getting lessons and stuff. It's just, I'm like, this is making, after a while, because again, we're talking about a 4-year, 5-year gap from that moment, but then it all started coming back. Like, whoa, wait a minute, we can do this. And then you started, again, use what you have. Use what you have, because I'm telling you, your answer is within you. Everything, you got it right now. Whatever you need, whoever is listening, hearing me say this, whatever you're looking for, you got it right now. You just got to go into the recesses of your mind, think back, childhood or whatever. It's there. I promise you it's there. Yes. Anyway, so I told all of them, I was like, I'm going to call this candle God. They were like, I don't know. I was like, all right. So here's a process too. We talk about, desire and faith and actually knowing how to go after some stuff. Probably one of my strongest things, you mentioned strong faith earlier, but I trust God and I believe him, right? So that night I left, I was headed home and I was in the car. I was like, God, this is real talk. I trust that you gonna I want to call this candle God, but I want to get your take on it. I'm hearing what everybody else telling me, and they may be right. I'm like, hey, they may be right, but I said I believe that I'm gonna find my answer out tomorrow, which I know is a crazy prayer, right? Crazy, but we just had that conversation. I trust him enough that if I ask for it, I have an expectation I'm gonna see it how I said it. So sure enough, we get to church next day, or however church went or whatever. My pastor gets up. He's talking. He's like, "Well, turn your Bibles." I think it was Psalm something. But he's like, the first thing that came out of his mouth. I don't know. Am I delaying there? Am I good?
It was a short delay. But
okay, I just want to make sure. So trying to delay this story. The story's good. But now I was like, we good?
I think so. I think we're good now.
Okay. If not, I'll slow it down a little bit.
No,
but yeah. Okay, cool. But yeah, I got to church the next day. First thing you get up, he's like, the spirit of man is the candle of the Lord. And I was like, I ain't changing nothing. But that's the process of knowing, of having, relationship and understanding, like, look, I trust him. I'm like, look, fam, because I ain't got no choice. I ain't got no other choice out here. Like, especially building a business, like, especially if you see it the level that, how are you going to know how to do what you ain't never been exposed to before? Like, I don't know. I mean, real talk, I got big dreams, but I'm like, I feel like Noah sometimes. I don't know how to build an ark, but every dimension was given to him. Like, so anything that you need is in you. The blueprint, the game plan is already there. You just have to expose it. You just have to be able to spin it. You have to get it from here and take. And that's why there's a couple things. You got to write that vision and make it plain, because a lot of times stuff is running around in your head that you ain't actually put on paper and be able to kind of sort it out. So the funny thing about when you get it from here, like I'm gonna show y'all. This is some metaphysical transformation. All the people that be wanting to look metaphysical transformation. Let me show you something. The things in your thoughts that are in your mind, when you start to write them out, you have literally now brought them from the spiritual realm through the soulish realm to the physical realm. Because now you have literally downloaded, because man is a 3-part spirit. I'm going all the way deep, but man is a 3-part spirit. This is in Thessalonians. Man is a spirit. He possesses a soul, which is your mind, your will, your emotions, your imagination, and your intellect. That's your thing, your feeler, your chooser, how you make decisions and all that stuff. That's your mind. That's your soul realm. Then you got your physical body. Well, if you can get stuff downloaded in your spirit, you can process them through your soul from aspect of how you think about it, and you can write this stuff down. You have now literally pulled something from what didn't exist to now it does exist when you start to put it down on this piece of paper. And then when you start to get your desire set up, when you start to get your mouth in alignment with what God has already promised you, can't nobody stop you from that. And so now it's like, now you have something to go after. Now you have something to go attain. You have something to go get. Now you got a vision. You got a vision, because you think about it. Who go to build a house and ain't got no blueprints? But now when you got a vision, you got to. Oh, absolutely. My bad. Look, I'm sitting there. I just started like, look, fam, look. I'll talk to everybody.
Literally thinking about when you said put it down, and it brings it to reality. So when you are building a home, you're looking at the blueprint of what you want, you see it, and then you can visualize it. Why can't we do that with ourselves? We can do it with a house. We can sketch out a car. We can design a new bag, design an outfit. Why can't we do that with our own dreams, our own hopes, our own visions? So what you simply said there was about making it plain. But I also love the fact that when you were talking about being in the room with people, you didn't second guess and say, oh, that's so-and-so. I can't do that. You looked and said, I can do this. But it was the exposure that gave you that confidence. The exposure to say, you know what? I don't know nothing about building a fragrance, but I'm in this room. I can do this. I'm going to take those incremental changes towards getting to that mark of what I know I can do. I love that you shared that with us.
Absolutely. Google is going to be your best friend as an entrepreneur. Because it's already, the information is present. Are you going to do the work? Are you going to do the work is the question. Information is there.
Good. So Tony, speaking of the work, and I hope those that have been watching that don't know all of your background have been taking notes. Y'all know he dropped Arrow Records. So he worked in the music industry for a minute. He talked about HGTV. So Tony has worked in television. He's done a lot of things, not even just television, but Tony has rented out movie theaters. He's hosted premier events, all of these various things. When you say, and I want to quote exactly from your bio, when you put the curator of high-end experiences and revolutionary concepts and projects, Tony, you've done things now that haven't been done before.
Yeah.
Where does that confidence come from? Because oftentimes we pair hope saying, oh, I hope I can do this, because we've either seen it already done, it's already been materialized by someone else in their journey and their process, but to just originate, what keeps you in that mindset of continuing to just originate as only you know how?
I would probably say I originate, but it's really more of a remix. Like I take what's already been done, and then I kind of pull it together of how I would want to do it with the Tony Rouse touch, and then I present it, if you will. Because one of the things I thought about when you were mentioning this stuff, like the premieres, I thought about, we hosted Avengers. We hosted a premiere for the biggest movie of all time, but and one of the things I just wanted to do with that, I was like, yo, I'm a Marvel fan, like. I'm a Marvel fan. And it was kind of crazy to think that, okay, we about to rent out a theater. Okay, I've seen people rent theaters before, but then we were like, we ended up partnering with MCU ATL, which is a local to Atlanta, but MCU ATL, they're a Marvel fan group, which are just super dope, just great people. And we were able to co-brand the whole thing, and then you had people come in dressed up in costume. They cosplayed it out. We ended up doing 2 nights, so the full rental was the Thursday night, and then we ended up hosting for other friends on that Friday night for the movie premiere and stuff. And again, this movie was sold out like all over the place, but what it really was just a remix of taking what had already existed of people renting a movie theater, but then kind of creating a branded experience outside of it. And a lot of times what I create is stuff I want to see. Like, we go back to 10 years ago with Food Rave. I like chefs. I like dope food. I like music. I'm like, and that actually came from I went to an event. Shouts out to Rochelle Brown and Powerhouse Productions and Sonia Armstead. So I got invited to a Taste of Ebony. Ebony Magazine hosted something back in, it was 2008. Ebony Magazine hosted something in 2008 in Atlanta, and it was actually a Taste of Ebony. It was a celebration of Black chefs from all over the country. Amazing. Mm-hmm. I mean, this was kind of my first, like, yo, I'm in the room. I mean, Bill Bellamy was hosting. I think people that y'all see now on Food Network, Chef Jamaica Pessoa. Shouts out to her. I don't know if she see this, but she got the best coconut shrimp I ever had in my life. But when I saw it, or when I saw Taste of Ebony, I was like, man, this is dope. I would like, and I remember, I would like to do something like this, but I would like to do it like this. I was like, if they would have did this, and then, so I literally just kind of tweaked it, and I gave, one of the things I believe in, you give people credit, you give them their flowers. So I was in interviews and stuff. We got the PR team. I'm like, no, shouts out to Taste of Ebony, shouts out to Powerhouse Productions, because you have to honor, like, yo, fam, there is, like, look, let me break this down too. There is nothing new under the sun. Everything has already been done. Ain't nothing new to the table. But there is a new lens that you put on it with your signature. That's, again, it goes back to fingerprints, thumbprints, because let's break it down. Facebook, it's a digital yearbook. It's been here. It's right. It's a different remix. It's like, people add technology to stuff, but these are all just remixes. So again, that's why nothing that nothing that you've experienced, nothing that you have it's never wasted. It's never wasted, because whatever your breakthrough is in you. I'm telling you, it's in you, whatever that is. But
That's so true.
But yeah, so it's also my, quote unquote signature touch is literally a amalgamation of all these other things kind of coming together. And I just kind of, I produce what I want to see. I mean, sometimes I just like, yo, this would be dope. I like it. And even with the cologne we got, I like it. I hope you like it too. That's why we offer a sample set. So if a sample, a little smaller fragrance. So if you don't like it, then, so be it. But
there it is.
I like it. And that's the thing about my stuff. Like, I don't sell nothing I don't like. And I don't love. Like, if I don't love it, I'm not putting it out there because I don't want nobody talking about me. But like, you got some crappy products and you trying to hustle us. I'm like, no. Exactly. Like, who got this dirty foot water they trying to push on the people? Like, nah, fam. But so it's like the reality of, we want to make stuff. And, we talk about, you mentioned the Curator of High-End Experiences. That actually came out of one of a discipline session. When I was talking about a person that said to use the word stratosphere, it was Minister Craig Garcia, but it was some time that we spent together. I was like, he was training me in leadership and stuff. But, we talk about, it was kind of one of those things. He challenged me. He said, you need that. What's your title? And I mean, it took me I think it took me a week or so. I think between the time frames we had met up or whatever, I was like, I'm the curator of high-end experiences. And then because I was thinking about, because, the curator side of it, because I mean, I create stuff, but I kind of curate. I mean, I pull it together to make it all work. And then the high-end experiences comes from, the expectation that I have for people to take away from stuff. Like, I've always seen myself as almost like Willy Wonka, Walt Disney, from an aspect of being able to create happiness for people. Like, because I live a great life. I really do. And it's not based off of the stuff that I have. Thank God for all of it. But I have a great life because I have joy. And, I have joy. And this is another Bible verse, but Nehemiah 8:10. It's like the joy of the Lord is your strength. And then why do you have joy? Because I know who got my back. I know who got my front. I know who got my side. He all over me. Left on the right, up.
But Tony, I want to pause there for just a minute because I think that is such a cherry on top of our entire conversation. And the reason why the Holy Spirit put this entire series on my heart is the fact that you've got joy. But Tony Rouse isn't just sitting here. Those of y'all that don't know him as this finished product, international curator. I have a fragrance line, like all these things that he's done. He's not sitting here saying I've got joy because I'm good. I'm comfortable. My bills are paid. Like I'm doing my thing under my company that even bears my own name. Tony has had this joy since I met him as a student at Georgia Southern University. And the many jobs that Tony has had, and I have had too, but Tony used to do pizza. He was a pizza guy at our local pizza shop. Shouts out to Don Corleone's back in the day.
I can still make a mean calzone, by the way. Keep going.
Right. But the joy he used to put in those calzones, in those pizzas, in the delivery of those to your residence hall, to your event on campus, is that same joy that he is sitting here with tonight in front of you all. So I think that in itself is encouragement for anyone that either you or someone that is just either lacking hope, lacking joy, looking for it in the wrong places. And we know how that can happen and where that can go. Yeah. But look within. And I love that you had the scripture to back it up to say, hey, I know where my joy comes from, where it always has come and where it always will come from, no matter what happens in the future of my brand, my life, my career, all these aspirations that I know I continue to have. So thank you for sharing that part with us, Tony.
Oh, absolutely.
For sure.
It's to be honest with you, it's who I am. I mean, like that, and that's such it's real. I think that's the thing too. It's authentic. And I was about to say this one thing too, for anybody that is, you mentioned the folks that may be in a moment of lacking of joy. It's one of those, and I don't even know if I came up with this because I'm teaching like teens and some other stuff, or if somebody else dropped it on me. But one of the things I tell people all the time, replay your victories. It's funny. When David went to go fight Goliath, they were like, you need all this armor. He was like, nah, ma'am. When the bear came, I killed him. When the lion came, I killed him. Who is this uncircumcised Philistine that stands and defies the armies of the Most High God? Like, it's one of those things of saying, the only reason I bring that up is like, he had to replay. Like, I done been here before. Like, the things that you're dealing with, you just probably did them on a different level, but you done dealt with it before. It's just done circled back around. It may have leveled up a little bit, but so have you. So you just got to replay your victories and know that you already win. It's like, I win every fight I go into before I ever have to fight anything. Like, I don't get moved by that. Well, such and such. Okay. And Like,
Right.
I done been through too much at this point to kind of be like, well, we ain't gonna make it. Nah, fam. Nah. We said we going to the other side. However, we got to get there. We going to the other side.
Right. We getting over there together. And
Absolutely.
to that point, you mentioned giving people flowers while they're living. I have to give you yours.
Oh,
because very few people know what I'm about to say right now. Very few people, as I've talked about this in context, but I've never really had the opportunity to be on a platform with you to say, y'all, Tony kept food on my table at a part in my life. When you gave me that role of selling clear internet in Best Buy.
Wow.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. That was when I was in this season of let me figure it out when I should have just given it all to God. But that season of that time when I was like, okay, something got to happen. Somebody got to come through, and you came through. So if anybody remembers clear internet, give us a like, but yes, I hustled some clear internet to get food on my table. Tony made sure I had hours. He made sure I was at the different Best Buy locations with my inventory. But Tony, thank you for not just that opportunity, just in that segue of those times where I just had no idea what was happening in my life. Like, really? What is really going on, God? But it was very much so about me and what I was trying to make happen versus already realizing I had all I needed. I needed to just lean into that. So thank you for that. Thank you for always just being, like you said, a friend to all. Because if you ask anyone that went to Georgia Southern during the periods of early 2000 to mid 2000, they're going to know who Tony Rouse is. And if they didn't make it to Georgia Southern by the time he had left, they heard about who Tony Rouse was.
Wow.
So y'all are with a living legend tonight.
Wow.
For real. But no, sir, I've got to give you flowers for that. I am so grateful for that time. There again, our journey and our pieces are part of a puzzle, because there I learned customer service. I learned humility. I learned how people can be. I really learned a lot by leaning into something that I had no desire at all to do, but what I needed to do in order to understand what was going to happen on the other side. So thank you, Tony, for my job, hustling clear at Best Buys all across Metro Atlanta.
And I'm going to just say, now, for those that think that it was just, don't get me wrong, it was at Best Buy, but we got commission. We got paid off them things. Like, them commission checks was the business. So we wasn't, now, shouts out to the Best Buy people. Y'all know, look, for those that have followed me from Best Buy, y'all know I love y'all. But we were getting paid. Like, them boxes and stuff, like, we were hustling. Like, when I tell you, hey, fam, we were hustling with that. It wasn't no regular, like, $10, no, we got this plus one, plus more.
Tony came through. I was able to keep my apartment in Dunwoody. I didn't have to move.
God is good all the time.
So what I want to do, Tony, to honor you and your company, I've been watching everyone who has been on tonight. I am going to purchase some items, and I'm going to gift those to some of the people who I see. I've seen a lot of people who have either been with us at Southern, people that I've grown to know in my recent years, my church family. So I'm
That's on the Hope in Life. What up, H&L?
Hope in Life. Pastors Tony and Glenn Brock. My worship pastor, Pastor Renee, is on with us tonight as well. But I am going to sow a seed.
I hear a lot about you.
This. I'm going to sow a seed after this, just to show, support. It's not validation, but it's just saying, hey, I'm along with you for this journey. Wow. We are moving forward together, and I see what you're doing. I acknowledge what you're doing, and I just want to be a blessing blessing to somebody. So I'm going to definitely sow a seed for at least 2 people that I see on with us tonight to get some Tony Rouse product and get your house smelling good.
Exactly. We'll take care of people. That's
right.
It's joy. I love that stuff. I love people that give. Like, I'm a fan of givers, man.
It's
like,
not ours to keep.
It's not
ours to keep. So that's when they say give thanks with a grateful heart. Yep. But give some dollars with one too. It's not ours to keep. So we are blessed to bless again. we just scratched the surface on our time. I know we were like, oh, we can do about 30 minutes. That was just the warm up. That was just the warm up. We may have to invite Tony back to kick us off at the top of the year with some things that I know you have coming down the line. You're going to share with us some things that you're about to do for the end of 2020, moving you into 2021.
Yeah, I'll definitely go ahead and drop this. So this is exclusive. You know, DJ Clue. No. But now for those for everybody that happens to live in the Atlanta area, we are excited that we were invited, but we will be hosting a holiday pop-up shop. So if you follow me on Instagram at Meet Tony Rouse, or if you're on Facebook, we'll post it there too. But we're going to be doing like a 4-week residency at Atlantic Station, starting Black Friday. So starting this Friday up until the weekend before Christmas. We'll have glad to see such success. Oh, thank you, Courtney King. Yeah, very cool. We'll have a full out.
Courtney Johns, but she's Courtney Johns King now.
Oh, very cool. Well, congratulations, Courtney Johns King. Yeah, we'll have a full-out pop-up shop. It's a holiday pop-up, open air, just in case, open air market at Atlantic Station starting this weekend. So we're really excited about that. But yeah.
So y'all go support. I know most of the faces on with us, a few aren't, but most of the faces on with us are in the metro Atlanta area. So if you can make it, if you're feeling safe, make it. I love that you expressed the open air market piece. Mask up, make it out. You can. But also Tony's product, everything that he's done is also online. I'm going to link his website to this so you all can go explore. No better time now than the gift of a gift that's shipped to your friends and family.
Hey, look, you want to trademark that? That's good. Give the gift that shipped. Look, real talk.
Who need that? FedEx. I can help USPS right now.
Hey, yes, like it's good. Yeah,
but this has been so good, Tony. It has been so good to catch up, and I really, my hope has been achieved. That whoever has been on with us tonight and who will watch this later can see your joy. Literally, you can see your joy. And just as you said in the room, you look around and say, I can do this, that they can do whatever it already is instilled with them. They just have to unlock it and release it, just as you have done in so many different areas, facets, arenas, groups in your life.
But I'll tell you, and I'm gonna tell you that, and this is the last thing. We're not, of course, not going to hour 2. But in that moment, it was like it's been so many areas because in that process, I was me trying to figure it out a lot of ways too, And sometimes you may not know at first, but just go forward. It's almost like you think about your steps are ordered. So even in this, where you bumping up against the wall, like your steps are ordered because everything, I'm telling you, everything will be used because nothing is wasted. Nothing is wasted.
Figure it out in faith, right? Figure it out in faith.
You might you might want to quote that one too. That's really good. In my mind, I'm like, that's really good. Figure it out with faith. I mean, because that's what better way to do it. Because you think about it. And listen, I'm so excited. Look, hey, shouts out to you, Devani. But yeah, you think about faith. It's the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Like that's Hebrews 11:1. But I love this. And that's actually one of the things I would talk about a lot. Faith is kind of if everybody got their own faith. Like faith is mine. But I liken that to say, when it says substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. It's like when you have a set of keys. Like when you lose them, the first thing you'll do is you'll look for them. The reason why you look for them is because you know they exist. So when you get an understanding that success is yours, that victory is yours, that it already exists for you, you just need to look for it because you're going to find it. You're going to find the key. If you think about if you're looking for your keys, you look for them because you know they exist. So that success that you're looking for, that whatever that victory, relationship, whatever it is, just look for it. Do the work, and I'm telling you, it's going to be there. That desire and the blueprint, it's going to show itself up, and it's going to be just piece by piece. You're going to look back and be like, oh, man. And it kind of goes back to that thing about the seed being planted. Let it have time to grow. Because when you plant something, you don't just go back and just dig it up. It needs that time to kind of cultivate. Right. But once it starts to show, and once it starts to grow, and think about it, it'll always grow down before it grows up because it has to be rooted. It has to be established. So in those moments in the dark, don't worry about it. You're just getting rooted. You're just getting established. Because when you are a full-out tree, you may bend like a palm tree, but you ain't going to break. And that's the biggest thing that you're going to need in the midst of all of this. You may bend, but you're not going to break. So you guys got this. Hope for the holidays. Joy for the people.
That's good.
Read all about it.
Look, we full off the word. We need to make room for Thanksgiving. We full off the word. Awesome. Y'all, we are so thankful to everyone who was able to tune in and engage with us tonight.
Congratulations on I saw your new shop, the new shirt shop. Congratulations on that.
B&B Threads over in Stone Mountain, Georgia, for all your printing needs. Entrepreneurs, those that already are entrepreneurs in your heart and your spirit, you just need to go ahead and do those plans, get that work. She's got you on your goods. Excellent. Tony, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone. And we hope that this has added just a little bit more joy, a little bit more hope for your holidays to come. And I'll be back next week with another episode. Thanks, everybody.